Hi, we are Audrey and Masana, a young couple striving for financial independence, self-sufficiency, and a debt-free life. To kickstart our journey to financial freedom, we decided to buy a small farm with no knowledge of farming, building, or homesteading. So join us on our journey as we build, grow, and save.
Hello, everyone.
Hey.
So it's been about 6 months since we moved to the plot, and we thought that we'd give you a quick update of what's been going on, if we've been having any regrets, or possibly things that we should have thought about a bit more since moving, or before moving here. So while we're doing that, we're going to be relabeling our seedlings, which we actually used lollipop sticks to do that. This was a terrible idea because everything is fading and we actually cannot see what's going on with all the seedlings. So we're going to be fixing that up and then just having a quick chat with you guys.
Yeah, so that's one of our regrets, by the way. We regret that we did our labeling with this. Next time we should just use a more effective labeling system.
Yeah. So I think one of the main things is convenience. We did not think that through at all. I think when we're looking for the plot, in our minds, we were like, okay, fine, it's not so far. It's only about 15 kilometers away from the closest stores or the mall, so we're going to be fine. But no.
Yeah, exactly. So we like a lot of serenity, quiet, and peace. So when we got here, we're like, oh, it's relatively far, so this is great, right? Or the shops are there, so it's great. But when you actually start having to do things on the plot, you realize that you need resources ASAP, right? Because if there's a construction thing going on your plot, you actually need cement really going on really quickly. You actually need things ASAP, and then like moving very quickly, and so on and so forth. So then we really then started to realize that convenience was not exactly where we actually wanted it to be. Previously, where we were staying, we could actually go to the mall 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So that can't happen anymore. It takes 15 minutes to get literally just bread, right? Because the closest mall to us is 10 kilometers away.
Yeah.
So that'll be 15 minutes going there. It'll take you another 30 minutes to do your shopping. Let's say it's a quick grocery. And then another 15 minutes coming back. So
yeah,
that's an hour.
Exactly. Yeah. And also delivery of anything. If we decide to buy whatever that we need, let's say we buy poles, for them to be delivered to us, it's going to cost us an arm and a leg, and sometimes it actually costs us more than the items we have bought.
Yeah.
So that part of convenience, really, we didn't think about it so well. So if we're going to start building, if we're going to start needing seedlings or starting to need things that are bigger than bread, we are going to have to spend so much money, and we don't have like your normal building warehouses where they can just deliver things to you for free, because that happens in Joburg. They're like, no, if it's in a 5-kilometer radius, we're going to get it to you for free or for 250 rand. For us, it's not going to happen anymore.
Yeah. And the other thing is that we love Takealot, right? We still do. So we love using Takealot, having things delivered. And then now the funny thing is we don't have an address. It's just a plot somewhere in this place. So when we have to buy something, we actually have to get it sent to the warehouse and then collect it from there. Otherwise they're like, well, where the hell exactly are you guys? So that becomes a bit of a challenge to get anything from Takealot and other places. So we've had to use alternate options as well. Pudo, right?
Yes. Pudo has been so great for us, because we just tell anyone, if you guys want to send us anything, just put it in a Pudo locker and we will go get it. It will take us about 3 hours to get that errand ran, but then at least we'd have got it all puzzle.
Yeah.
Okay, another thing was, I think we didn't really think about setting up the expenses of setting up the plot. Oh my goodness. The homestead tells you what it wants, not what you want.
Exactly. When we moved in here, we looked across and we thought, okay, we want to get, a tank, and this and that and all that. And then the plot looked at us and laughed. It was like, no, you're going to get a fence because you want to be safe here. And then we had to get a fence and we had to get electrocuted. And after that, the plot is the one that determines what's really happening.
Yeah.
Because if you start having problems with water when you move in, then water becomes your priority.
Yeah.
If you plan that you want to do gardening and, we have weird little animals and creatures here, then, a fence or a barricade or something becomes really important.
Exactly.
So it's going to determine how it goes.
Exactly. So another thing that we like, the example of the expenses is the fact that there's so much grass, there's so much bush growing here. So we had to quickly get a bush cutter. Well, what do you guys call it?
Yeah.
A brush cutter.
Yeah.
Brush cutter.
Yeah.
And the brush cutter is not just a brush cutter. It requires fuel, it requires oil, and it requires the little cutter things.
Yeah, those are plastic strips that do the cutting. So, it's not something that just runs on its own. It's not like a manual thing. So, and it consumes a lot of this fuel, guys. So in order to use it, those are additional costs on top. And at any point, this thing could stop working. And if it stops working, we actually have to take it, and get it fixed.
Exactly.
And that could be an additional cost.
Yeah. So the costs just keep piling up. And also, I think we've been very prudent with how we use our money. And the one thing that we actually noticed when we got here was our expenses tripled.
Yeah.
We're not just thinking about buying food anymore or just entertainment. It's now, what do we need to get work done? Do we need labor? Do we need a net? Do we need a bucket? All these things just keep piling up and you can't keep pushing them away because they are the things that you need to get the homestead going.
Yeah. And I mean, it was so ironic because when we got the homestead, we were telling ourselves that we want a homestead so that we can grow our own food, so that we can be independent. We don't have to rely on all these things and therefore cut down the cost.
Yeah.
And then it turns out that the homestead started cutting us instead. So, for these first few months, there's just a lot of outlay initially of capital.
Yeah.
So you do have to think about that.
Exactly. Yeah. So another thing for me is I now drive 3 hours to work almost every single day, and I'm often tired when I come back from work, so I don't get to actually help out Masana or help out on the homestead. So my time is already limited, and the long drives to work make me wake up super early.
Yeah.
So now it's like, how often do we now see each other? Because one of us is at work, the other person is working on the homestead. So I didn't think about it that much when we were looking for the homestead, like how far are we going to be from work, etc. And also just thinking back, there was nowhere we would have gotten a homestead that would have loved where I work. So I mean, it is just a sacrifice that needed to be done, but oh my goodness, the driving is crazy.
I mean, and that's the thing about the homestead, right, is that you eventually you settle with some compromises, right? Because the homestead that we would have liked would obviously not have been close to where I was working previously or where you were working, like where you're working now as well. So, you kind of settle for the best alternatives, the best mix of things here and there. But the thing is that those compromises as well, like you do have some regrets for some of those compromises.
Yeah. I mean, the fuel now is ridiculous. The amount of fuel that I use now, for me to just fill up my small tank, and my car is very small, so my small tank only lasts me 2 days. So every third day I have to fill up my tank, and you guys know how inflation is making everything go up. So that is really, really a big regret from my part. Yeah. And then I think the amount of work in this place is crazy.
Yes. So basically it just reminds me of that song by Rihanna, which is like work, because that's basically what will be like that's your theme song for your homestead. It's just you're always going to be working. The work never stops. And you never get to a point where you're like, okay, I think I'm done. And we've met, really accomplished homesteaders, who have really beautiful homesteads, and even they work like they are crazy.
Exactly.
Because, for example, bush never stops growing. So you can't just let bush, do what it
its
has to
thing.
do. Yeah. So you have to get rid of the bush. You know,
Yeah.
and there are projects around. And if you have cattle or livestock or anything like that, then that also has to, things have to be changed. Things have to be maintained.
Yeah.
You have to get new equipment. You're always doing work, and you
Yeah.
can't just outsource it.
Exactly. I think that also just spills on to our social life,
Yeah.
which is non-existent. It's
Yeah.
not like we've ever had a colorful social life.
She's boring.
Guys, I do have some friends. Okay, we have been trying to make more friends, but now it's gotten so bad because there's no way we can leave our homestead for 3, 4, 5 hours, just to meet up with people and just talk and drink or whatever that you guys want to do. It won't work because there's going to be so much work to be done on the homestead at the end of the day, and this is our home.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's not just a farm somewhere that we go visit. This is where we live, so things actually need to
be
get done.
Yeah. And this is before things like livestock, are actually inside. So once you have things like chickens, other people have little goats or whatever it is, it's just like you can't just go away and leave those unattended for days on end. So it's always there. Like that commitment is always there.
Yeah. Coqueville told us, if you guys know us, you know how much we love the people from Coqueville Homestead. So you can go check them out. They, Janine and Gav actually told us that it took them 5 years before they could go on their first vacation.
Yeah.
That's the amount of work they've had to deal with since they started homesteading.
So we just need to beat 5 years, then we will be great. Right?
Yeah, we just need to go. We just need to go on a vacation next year.
It's not gonna happen.
That will be sent people. Yeah. I think the other thing that people don't really talk about is career prospects.
Yeah.
Because, well, for me, if I have to move jobs, I have to go further than the 3 hours that I'm already driving, or I have to get a job which is closer, and those jobs don't pay well. And we are still very reliant on our jobs to pay our bills on the homestead.
Yeah. So, I'm very fortunate to have, a completely remote job. I'm in the data profession, so I've been fortunate to do that. And the company that I also work for is not a South African, company. So I'm very fortunate to get that opportunity where I'm also able to wake up in the morning, work on the farm, and then work a little bit later and do all those things, right? But the reality is that most people who will be working in South Africa will have to work for a South African organization, right? And then that becomes a challenge, right? Because as young people, we do want to climb the corporate ladder. We do want, I know you want to be the new CEO or the new CFO or whatever, in a few years.
Yeah.
So once you choose this lifestyle, you start to realize that you have to then start choosing, is that going to be feasible for you, right?
Yeah.
So in my case, most organizations which are remote have a very flat structure. So that means you don't have a lot of promotion opportunities, right? And so if you want the best chances to get promoted as well, most of the time you will have to be in person. You will have to report and see a manager and be visible and be known by that manager, and that's really unfortunate, because the best jobs and the best paying jobs are in the metropolis, like the 3 big cities. That's Durban, Cape Town, and then Johannesburg. So it kind of limits a lot of people into those 3 areas specifically.
Exactly. Yeah, unless you find a homestead in Johannesburg. A lot of people have homesteads. I don't know if it's a lot, but I think the homesteads that I've been seeing online, they're around Pretoria. So you could sacrifice that, I don't know, about 45 minutes drive from Pretoria or from the outskirts of Pretoria to Johannesburg. But hey, if you choose this life, you just have to either move jobs or be willing to drive or take a pay cut. I don't know. Yeah.
I think what we actually see from a lot of these homesteaders is that they're more entrepreneurial, right? So that's another common way that most of them go about it. So they might still keep their job, but then they probably do other work on the side. The homestead is trying to generate an income and so on. So that's probably the best way to go about it.
Exactly.
But I think, most of the time, if you have to consider your career prospects, you are probably going to have to look at, remote kind of work. Otherwise, yeah, it might be a bit of a challenge.
Exactly. But besides all these somewhat regrets, I think we also have a lot of learnings that
Yeah.
we have learned in
So
the
much.
past 6 months. Like,
Yeah.
it's just been crazy. The learning curve has been painful, that's the truth. But then it's also been super, super incredible. I think the one thing that we've noticed is the willingness to take risks. I think we've always been taught that taking a risk is not good for you. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, like, when I speak with my family, like initially, they were very hesitant
Yeah.
for me to go and do this. And the reason is because, your family cares about you.
Yeah.
So they care about my well-being. They were worried that I was just going to do something reckless and careless and put myself possibly in a bad financial situation. But, I also did realize that, I think for a very long time, you're just scared to do things. You're scared to
Yeah.
try new things. You're scared to
Yeah.
go a new path. You're just scared of a lot of things. And when we finally decided, look, we're going to look for that place, we came here, we saw, we liked it, we came again, and then we're like, we're gonna do it. Right?
Yeah.
We're gonna get that place. And then we got the place. And we moved in here, and there was no fence, and I was sleeping, with a panga underneath my pillow.
We still have an X under the bed.
And, I still have an X underneath my pillow. So, but, you're scared a bunch of times. There are weird creatures everywhere. But we did it. And,
Yeah.
and slowly, I think, after 6 months, we're realizing how less fearful we are as
Exactly.
people.
Yeah. We are willing to want to do things that would not have done.
Yeah.
We were thinking about businesses that would have scared us, a couple of months ago. We actually want to do the craziest stuff for
We
people
do.
our age. I mean, guys, we are already planning to retire in 10 years. How crazy is that?
Crazy.
Luck. Anyway, I think another thing we've learned is asking for help. It has been incredible. Learning to ask for help has been the greatest lesson for me, because when we started this journey, we quickly started our Instagram page, and we were just asking for help, how to grow our vegetables, how to work on the homestead, and people have been so amazing.
Yeah. People were just willing to just give us information, help us with lots of things. We've had people extend, their love towards us,
Yeah.
offering us seeds and,
Yes.
and things like that.
Yeah.
And we've had great people like, Cockeyville, who just allowed us to come into their homes, help us whenever they could. And, this is just like it basically showed that, if you want help, you actually have to go out and actually make yourself available.
Yeah. I think we are so scared to ask for help,
Yeah.
and we are always assuming the worst. We're always
Yeah.
assuming that people are going to be horrible to us, but then people are so nice out there.
They were,
It's just crazy.
Yeah.
We have met so many friends. We have
Yeah.
made so many connections just by asking for help. So
Yeah.
this has been a great learning experience for us, and we're not scared now to ask for help. We can literally go to anyone and just ask for whatever we want. We want pallets, we get there.
Yeah.
Can we get some pallets? Can we
Yeah,
get some
cardboard.
cardboard? Can we get whatever that we want? We just
Yeah.
now ask,
Yeah.
which has been so
And-
amazing.
And just with that as well, right? It's just really amazing because it's very liberating for someone like me, because we're both professionals, right? So at every time that you're in a professional setting, you are required to be at the top of your game,
Exactly.
to know exactly what you're doing and to just be an expert at it.
Yeah.
But then when we got here, it was just liberating because we didn't have to be experts at the things we were doing.
Exactly.
Like, we would just plant things and things would die. And then, some of them would grow and then they do very well. And then, it's like, okay, well, what did you guys do? And we're like, we don't know. And then other people would tell us what we did that was really good, and other things that we, that we didn't do very well.
Yeah.
And it was just so liberating. It feels good to not have to be an expert at your field,
Exactly.
and to be an idiot a bunch of times. And
Yes.
we're idiots every day.
Yeah,
And that
exactly.
feels really good.
Yeah, it feels really great. And just to add to that, throughout the experience of just, learning and asking, things, we learned new skills.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are the skills that you've learned?
Like, guys, I'd never drilled, I'd never built any of these things. But like, I mean, look at this table. Like, I had to learn, take a bunch of pallets, get a drill a table, put it together. And it's a strong table. It works very well. It's robust. It gets rained on every day. And it's really great. But, like also just doing projects on your own. We built a fence together.
Yeah.
And, there are lots of projects that we do. We built a shelf together. We painted our own
house.
Our house, right?
Yeah.
Right? That's crazy.
And we put shelves in our own house.
Shelves in our own house. Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. These are people who had never done it. We don't have any carpentry skills. We don't have any building, plumbing, any skill, right?
Yeah.
And we are here, and we were just willing to learn any skill out there, and it's just been a great experience.
Exactly. And I'm learning new skills. I love cooking, but I've always made like simple one-pot dishes, with whatever that we buy in a store, whether it's canned, it's frozen. But now I'm learning the skills of actually cooking with fresh food, you guys. It's incredible. We are also just learning to can our food, to preserve our food. We're learning so many things.
Yeah.
I think after the first year, we're just going to be so incredible at a lot of things. And I'm so proud of that.
Or mediocre at a bunch of things too. That's also happening.
I know. I think that reminds you of how, of just how the learning process, goes. Yeah. And then another thing I think is just our home is a potential business.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's like, like we look at our home, and then we're thinking of, okay, well, we could possibly grow crops here. We could grow flowers here. We could, sell chickens or sell eggs, or, so every opportunity, like when we look around our home, like our own home, has possible ways of generating revenue for us.
Yeah. It's not just a place to sleep in now. It's a place that can sustain us, so yeah, it's quite incredible. I think this experience has been amazing. But one last thing, I just harvested this cucumber from our own garden. Guys, homesteading is just amazing.
Right? This is the biggest cucumber ever.
No, I mean, we've had some big ones, but we have learned to grow our own food. I didn't think it was possible. I know I grew up with my grandmother. We would see them gardening, picking some vegetables here and there. But doing it yourself feels so incredible. And knowing where your food comes from, because food is power, you guys. And we know that if anything were to happen in this country, like COVID happened, we know that we'll be able to have our own food.
Yeah.
So cheers to lunch.
Yes.
So nice. So good.
Need to grow my own salt.
If you guys have any ideas of how we can grow our own salt, please let us know. Thank you guys for watching. We appreciate any comments, any advice, and keep following us on this journey.
Like, subscribe. See you next time.